Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome to WDTT, Web Dev Tips and Tricks. This is where I share quick and easy tips to make your front-end dev life smoother. No long tutorials, just straight to the point tricks you can start using right away. If that sounds good, stick around and let's level up together. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more. In this video, I'll be showing you how to implement this pattern of pagination. Now, I'm sure you must have come across this in some projects or websites. And basically, in this pattern of pagination, you have concealed pages on the left or the right or on both sides. And for this pattern of pagination, it's actually not hard to implement. You don't need a third-party library, you don't need a third-party package. It's something you can do yourself. For this video, I'll be using vanilla JavaScript, but it's possible for you to replicate these in any JavaScript framework, although there might need to be some tweaks you will do that will be specific to each library or framework. Without further ado, let's jump into this. Alright, so here is the HTML code. Nothing really special. We just have a section which is a flex container, black color is what you can see here. And this div is where we'll be putting in is the pagination wrapper and where we'll put in our buttons. Alright, so and the reason why these buttons are commented out is because normally if you're working in you try to implement something that will be dynamic, you first have to create a static version of it in the HTML, and then you use that static version to style it, and then before you remove it and work on the dynamic version of it. So that's basically why this is there. And so you can see this is the static version. For the styling, there's really nothing special also in the styling. So basically we have the button, of course. We just gave it some padding, some border radius, and also some transitions, so that when we hover, we have this effect. And also added some click animations, such that when we click on it, the scale is reduced. And then also when we have the active class, so this class will be on the current page. We also just put some styles, and yeah, they set the cursor to not allowed, because if you're already on the page, there's really no need for you to be clicking on the page you're already on. So yeah, not allowed. And also we have the disabled class. So for these pages that are concealed, we need to disable the button, so it can't be clicked on. And then basically, and then we have the span. So the reason why I'm using the span here is because without the span, these 3 dots will not be centered, okay, and to just be at the baseline. So that's why I added the span, so just be able to move it up to center it. All right, so that's that. Like I said, we don't need these. You can just comment it out. Okay, and then let's jump into the JavaScript. We already have some codes in the JavaScript. I think I sent it this. All right, so now we have the pagination. So this is just the pagination. This div here, we're using get element by ID, and then we get the pagination because we're setting current page to 1, and total pages, so now it's 25. But of course, so you know, normally how this is done is that total number of pages will be coming from whatsoever place you are fetching it. So if you're fetching from the result from your backend based on the number of data you can, or if the backend is specifying the total number of pages, that is where you will get this value. So but for now, we're just hard coding this 25, but we're going to make it dynamic. We're going to make it dynamic, and that's the reason why we're storing it in a variable that can be updated. And so for now, the split pages, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and concealed and this. So I'll explain to you how I got these values. For now, don't worry about this. And then we have this button click. So basically, this button click is the click events callback that will be called the event listener that will be attached to the buttons. And then we have under pagination and display pages func. All right, so but we'll talk about this when the time arises. Okay, so now let's return back to this place, and let me expand this so we'll have much space. Okay, so now how did I come about these first and the default values here? So now for me, when I'm building this type of pagination, I prefer it that the least number of digits in the concealed pages should be 2. Okay, should not be more than 2. And that's how you see that this is. So when we're in page 2, page 3, page 4, and we're in page 5, we have 2 and 3 concealed. You get that's the least number of pages that can be concealed. Okay. So, but how did I then come about this whole arrangement? From this illustration, which you have here, now when the correct page number is 1, which is what we have here. We have this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 consent pages, then total number of pages. Okay, that's fine. So when correct number of pages is 2, same thing, 3, same thing, page 4, same thing. But now when we come to 5, that's when we now have a bit of change. Okay, so the pattern then changes. So this pattern is same from page 1 to page 4, but when we get to page 5, the pattern changes. Okay, so and this stuff is not, it's not something that you cram, it's something that it can be made dynamic. Okay, so now, but the reason why I'm using page 5 is because, like I told you, for me, I prefer to have at least 2 digits concealed. Okay, so if you want to have 3 digits concealed, then of course you have to make that, like, well, let me call it the breakpoint number to be 6. So when we're at page 6, we will now have 4, 2, 3, 4 hidden. Okay, but we're not doing that here. All right, so now when we are in this pattern here, it's very imperative based on how it is. Like, well, I will not say it's a convention, but as I've always seen it when it's being used, the middle pages here is always 3, and then we have the consent pages on the left and right. So basically we have the previous page, the current page, and the next page. Okay, so that's how it always is. All right, now when we are now at there's, of course, there's a last pattern, which is this pattern here. So when we are in page 23, we now have everything here out, and just only on the left hand side are consent pages, then 24, 25. So, but how do we come about this? How do we know at what point we switch to these variation? And well, there's a bit of an equation to it. I will not really say, okay, let me not call it an equation so it doesn't seem as though it's complex, but a little bit of a calculation I do to get this. And so let's say this x is here, the x here represents the number of pages, and let's use y to represent current page. So to be able to know the points, we can do something like this. Concealed pages, and then we'll say x minus, sorry, is it x here? X minus 3, and we'll say x minus 2, say x minus 1, and we'll say x. So with this, we're able to get this. If you check 25 here, is 25 so is our total number of pages. So 25 minus 3 gives you 22, 25 minus 2 gives you 23, 25 minus 1 gives you 24, and we have 25. Okay, same thing also for this pattern too. There's also kind of like an equation for it. So it's gonna be something like this, and then we'll have let's say y is our current page, so we'll have y minus 1, which is the previous page. We'll have y for the current page, and then we'll have y plus 1 for the next page. And then consent pages, and then we have the total number of pages. Okay, so that's just it basically. And with these equations, we can actually make it dynamic to accept any number of pages. Okay, all right, so that's enough theory, but it's not pointless theory, of course. Okay, so let's return back to our main workspace and let's have some room. So first off, let's get our pages displayed before we start doing anything. And so for that, let's add an event listener. So say add event listener dump content loaded. So when the dump content is loaded, we will want to call display page func, and let's just put this display pages function. All right, so now let's just check to confirm that everything works fine. Okay, let's save, and yeah, display page is fired, so our function is working fine. Okay, so first and first is, like I told you, we would want to display this in this pagination, and we already have the container here. So we will say pagination dot inner HTML is equal to this. Okay, so but this won't make sense for now, so let me just comment this out, because this would make sense for now. But the moment we have things work up and running, when the undo pagination function is up and running, you see why that makes sense. So let's leave that for now, and then we'll take our displayed pages and say display pages dot map, and then we want to map to it, and we return this. Okay, so let's say pages. Now basically what we want to do is we're just going to create a button. We say document dot create element, and we create the button element. Okay, so now what else do we need to do? We need to set the text content for this element. So say text content is equal to page, because now of course sorry, page, because this is a string. And so now we also have to do some things here. Remember, we have these active class here, which is set to the current page. So we'll say if page is equivalent to current page, if page is equivalent to current page. But remember, displayed page is in string, so we have to convert the string to number, so we'll not have issues. And we'll say if page is equal to current page. Well, of course, I know we could actually use the non-strict operator for checking, but I really don't like using that guy, to be honest. I really don't like it. So so if it's equal to the current page, that means the button is the current page. So button dot class list dot add, or should we just add the active class? But if it's not, else if, so we want to now check if page is not equal to our concealed, which is just 3 periods. So if it's not, then say button dot add event listener, and then we're going to add a click event, and then we'll simply just put our button click. Okay, so now we don't want to add this event listener to the current page. Doesn't make sense. And I don't want to add it to this, so that's the reason why we're passing it into this as if. And then finally we say else, so that means that the value that we're having here is the concealed value. So we'll say btn.inner html is equal to, okay, for this I'll be using temporary literals. Sorry, this was a span, and then we can just say page. Okay, and then of course we also have to disable this button. I'll set disabled to true. Okay, so now when all this is done, let's just save so we can get things formatted. Then we'll say pagination, sorry about that, pagination dot append, and then we say btn. Okay, so yeah, that's and now we have all our various buttons displaying. Okay, and so let's just change this to the number of pages, so let's use 12. Okay, so all right, now let's then work on our button click, because if you check, you see that the button click actually it's not working. What could be the issue? Why is button click not working? Oh, okay, there's an error here. Elements before uncut reference. Oh, line 14. They were trying to access elements. Just 8. Oh, yeah, my bad. All right, so yeah, that should fix it. So let's check now. Everything should work fine. So yeah, everything works fine. We're getting our console logs. Okay. Now let's proceed to certain things here. So basically, what we want to do here is when we click on this, we want to set the pagination. So for that to happen, we're going to call the handle pagination function. There's a reason why I'm making this a function, and although for now you may not see the reason why, but you'll get to see it later. So let's put this as value, and the value we're passing here is the value of the current page. So we're going to put here value. Okay, and then also almost forgot, we also have to set current page to value. Okay, so we set current page to value so that it gets updated, and then we're passing value into this place. Okay, so now let's see if our function works. Yeah, it works, and the pagination is fired. Okay, so now let's start by setting some if statements. So we say if value is less than 5. Okay, so if value is less than 5, we want to update this displayed pages array, but we're not actually going to really update it. Basically, we're just going to copy everything that is here. So you just repeat, and we say this. So basically what we're saying is, if when we call on handle pagination, if the current page is 5, is less than 5, so 4, 3, or 2, we still want to maintain this current configuration. Okay, so nothing changes. Then we say as if value is greater or equal to total pages minus 2. Now if you remember from that illustration I showed to you, when we are at this is not the final project, so let me come here. So when we are at this last page, you see page 23, we come into this other pattern. Okay, and this page 23 is simply the last page minus 2. So that's the reason why we are saying here that if value is greater than or equal to total pages minus 2. So when it's greater than or equal to total pages minus 2, we want to use this format, okay? And that's what we'll be doing. So if it's this, then we'll say the split pages will be equal to. So now let's copy this. But of course, I would want some tweaks, but just make things easy. So of course, we remove all these guys here. Okay, so if we remove all these guys, we'll have this, and then we can just simply say string total pages minus 3, string total pages minus 2, string total pages minus 1. Okay, right. So this would be the new format, and then finally we now put else statement. So this else statement will be for the various scenarios where we are now in this format, this in between format. Okay, that's what this is going to undo. And of course, I also already gave you the equation for that. So let's just copy this, and of course, when we are in this format, we will have this also. Oh, I didn't add any space. Okay, I think there's a space here. Okay, there's no space. Okay, and then let's put a comma here. Let's copy this. Okay, now but instead of total pages, we're going to take value, which is our current page. So say value minus 1, which is going to be the previous page, and then we do this. I'm going to say value. Let's just copy this, and then we say value plus 1. So basically, like I told you, we'll have page 1, the number of pages, then the considered pages, and then the previous page, the current page, and the next page. Okay, so basically that's what handle pagination does. And then when we are done with handle pagination, we can call on display pages function. And all right, so now let's test this out and see if this works. Okay, yeah, so now we have this issue where we have this. Okay, so now what is considered the issue is basically, yeah, so that's the reason why I commented this out, because I wanted you to have this issue. So if you don't comment it out, whenever display pages function is called and we're calling append, it will just add the new elements to the end of the container, and that's the reason why you're having this much. So we have to reset the pagination container first before we make any append operation. So that's, see, this is working fine. Okay, now we have this. Let's just check to ensure yes, our pagination is working fine. Okay, now let's make more tweaks. Now what if we have a situation where our total number of pages is less than what is required for this to work optimally? So let's say maybe, for example, we have, let's say, 5 pages. So of course, if we're having 5 pages, there's no need for us to have any page concealed, because, well, it's 5 pages. There shouldn't be need for concealing pages, right? So but see what we're gonna have here. Yeah, we're gonna have this 1 2 3 4 5 concealed 5. So this doesn't make sense. So that means we have to make our displayed pages also dynamic right from the start. So to do that, okay, there's no need to copy these values for now. So we'll make these to be an empty array, and then we put a check in handle pagination. Okay, and we'll say if total number of pages is less than or equal to 5, then we'll do some things, then else we'll bring back this guys here. Okay, so basically what we're going to say is if total number of pages is less than or equal to 5, we're going to set display pages to just be this. But of course, this is not dynamic, because it's almost as though we are cheating. Okay, of course, we're not calling undo pagination, so let's call undo pagination. Yeah, so that we can have a display. Okay, so I think we should be able to call display func in handle pagination, right? Since we're always calling it after, so we can just call it in here, so that we don't have to repeat ourselves here. Okay, and then if that's the case, if we're doing more fine tuning, then we can actually do this. So this will also work. Let's see. Yeah, it's worked. Okay. So now of course this is working, but it actually is still hard coded because I'm putting this as 5 here. So what if the total number of pages is 4? Okay. So now you see that we are not having a page that's not supposed to be there, and this will cause errors. Okay. So that means we have to make these dynamic, and the way we do that is simple. So we just create a new array using the new array constructor, which takes the array length. The array length here will just be the total pages, and then we'll fill this array to be just filled with empty string. So basically, it's just an array of whatever the number of pages is that will be filled with an empty string. You can actually console log this if you want to see what the value is. Say console log, say displayed pages, displayed pages, okay? And yeah, you can see it's just an empty array of 1, 2, 3, just empty array, okay? So then what we want to do here, we say dot map, then we map this out, and then we are not interested in the value. What we're interested in is the index. So we can just do that, and we say we're going to return, of course everything here is going to be string, so we say index plus 1, and we are good. So this is dynamic, okay? So whatever the number of pages is, it's not going to break. Of course, the number of pages should not be 0. So then, of course, if we have 10, oh, sorry, what's this error I'm seeing here? If the number of pages is less than 45, this is strange. What could be causing this error? Oh yeah. I can see what's causing this error. So we totally forgot to pass a value into this. So that means pagination can't be like this. So we forgot to pass a value here, and the value we pass is 1 because at the start of the page, our current page will always be 1. So we start 1. Or if you want, you can still pass in current page there. It's still fine, but yeah, let's just leave it as 1. Okay. So yeah, 10 pages still gonna work fine. Won't be any issues. It changes to, let's say, maybe 7 pages. It's going to work fine. There's no issue. So basically, this is how you undo this type of pagination. I told you it's not something complex. The reason why there's this large amount of code is because this is vanilla. If you're using a framework, it will be much more shorter than this. Okay, so now, like I was saying, if we want to make these two, because you know how this is done is that we have, like I said, we have 2 considered numbers. If we want this to be 3 considered numbers, we can also do that. We just need to make some tweaks, okay? So let's just bump this to 15 pages, okay? First and foremost, that means our target number now will no longer be 5, it's now be 6, okay? Because we want to hide 3. Remember, like I told you, there must always be a previous and the next number. So if 6 is the current number, if we want to make 3 hidden, so when 6 is the current number, then we have 2, 3, 4 hidden, then we have 5 and 7, okay? So we have to increment this if total number of pages is less than or equal to 6. Now, although there's a way to also make this dynamic, but I really don't think it's needed to go through that. Honestly, it's a bit troublesome, so there's no need to go through that. So 6 if value is less than 6. So basically we just increase it, and then we also have to include 6 here so that it is represented 6. Else if this, then of course we also have to add another value here too. So say -4, okay? Else display pages is yeah, and that's what we need to do. So let's test that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And so this is working fine. So if you want to have 3 numbers hidden, yeah, this is what you have to do. So what you have to know is that the more the amount of numbers you are hiding, then the more values will be here when you have concealed pages either on the left or on the right, okay? So you have to put that in mind. And that's the reason why for me the sweet spot is concealed 2 numbers. Concealed 1 number fits somehow. Because only 2 numbers for me is the sweet spot. But if you want to play around, conceal 4, 5, 6 numbers, just ensure that you are making the necessary modifications that is needed to be made to the handle pagination function to handle that. Thank you for sticking with me to the end of this video. Please do not forget to like, subscribe, turn on notification, and also share to your fellow developer friends who can find this useful. And have a nice coding experience. Bye bye.